today's episode of Gardening 101, we started off by visiting the Walter Sisulu National Botanical Garden to learn more about South Africa's natural grasslands. Now we join Linda Galvad at the Saxon Hotel Villas and Spa's rooftop vegetable garden to learn more about growing your winter crops from seeds.
Winter is certainly not a time to hibernate. There are so many fantastic varieties that you can plant for winter, and in fact some of my favorite crops are winter crops. Things like kale and broccoli and Savoy cabbage and lamb's lettuce or corn salad. I absolutely adore those crops, and the cabbage family offers the greatest medicinal value. They are excellent cancer fighters and they have enormous amounts of antioxidants, so it's really a good idea to stock up on your cabbage, cauliflower, kale, broccoli, kohlrabi and a plethora of other cabbage family varieties. So today I'm going to show you how to plant two different size seeds, and I'm going to plant them in seedling trays. I always plant my seeds in seedling trays because I feel that it offers so much more control on the outcome. Firstly, if you plant in seedling trays, you can get a head start on the season, and you can put your trays in a warm sunny spot so that your plants can be ready as soon as spring comes along, or in autumn you can pop them in the ground and you can have a crop way before the next spring that comes along, which is what you want to do. Another thing about planting in trays, you can use the perfect germination mix, so you're giving the plant a perfect environment to get started on. The seedling will be strong and it will be durable, and that's what you want as well. The great thing about trays is that if you use a tray with quite a fair size aperture, like 45 millimeters wide and 40 millimeters deep, you can leave your seedling in there right until the time it needs to go in the ground, so it can stay in that tray for about a month. Last thing about trays is you must make sure you don't let them dry out. So you can water them every single day, check that the soil is moist and keep them happy. And in that way you'll get your seedlings off to a great start and you'll have a great winter crop. So what I'm going to start with is to show you the perfect germination mix which we use and we have great success from. So we're going to start off with 2 handfuls of really good organic potting soil. Then we're going to move on to our compost, which is organic compost, and we're going to have 1 measureful of organic compost. Then we're going to move on to vermicast or worm castings. Now the valuable thing about worm castings and using them in your germination mix is that they have a natural antifungal, antibacterial agent and properties to them. And the reason why that's so important when you're growing your seedlings is because seedlings can suffer from a terrible fungus called damping off, which basically kills the seedling overnight. And using worm castings will prevent that. And it's 1 measureful of that. Lastly, in your germination mix, you want to use vermiculite, and it's 2 measurefuls of vermiculite. Vermiculite is used generally to retain moisture and to keep spaces within the soil. The spaces are for oxygen. So we're just going to mix that through. Right, then you're going to pour this into your trays. I never push the soil down into the tray. I really find it's important that you keep as much air in your germination mix as possible. And I make sure that I fill them up right to the top. Right. So I'm going to use 2 different size seeds as I mentioned earlier. I'm going to start with the Savoy cabbage, which is so delicious. It's much milder than cabbage, and I just love the crinkly green leaves. It's such a beautiful show in the garden. I've got this great little tool here which is called a magic seeder, and it literally allows you to dispense 2 seeds at a time, and when you get really good you can dispense 1 seed at a time. It takes about 3 or 4 millimeters of seed in size, and it's great for carrots and lettuce too. With the smaller seeds, all I do is I make a slight indentation with my finger. That's all, not even a centimeter's depth. You hold this slightly to the side and it works a little bit like an injection. There you go. Now, what I do with these seeds that I've planted really shallow is I'm going to take a sieve, fill it up with some organic compost, and gently sieve a very fine layer over the seeds. And that's why I didn't make a very deep hole to start off with, because with smaller seeds, you want to keep them quite close to the surface. There you go, that should do it. Let me just show you what that looks like. Right. Remember to always label your seedling trays, that's so important. I'm just going to write here Savoy cabbage and date them, very important, so that you can work out when these germinate and when to start your next crop for succession planting. There you go, pop it in the tray. With the bigger seed, I'm going to use some great peas, which are sweet and delicious and like to grow in cool climates, so they love the autumn and winter season. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a 1 centimeter hole, maybe 1.5 centimeters with the tip of my finger. There you go. Using good quality seed really is the answer here. And in this case, I'm only going to plant 1 seed per hole. Pop that in. There you go. Now these are bigger seeds, so I'm not going to sieve a layer of compost over them. I'm actually going to cover the little seed with the soil around the hole. And I'm not going to press the soil down at all. Remember, you want to keep the air in the soil and you don't want to create a hardened surface, which will make the seed struggle to germinate and come through the surface. Once again, don't forget to label and date. There you go. Now, watering your seedling trays for the first time, I've got this great little tool which has a very fine rose spray and produces quite a fine, flush of water, which is really important because you don't want to dislodge the seeds, especially the finer seeds, the smaller seeds that are really close to the surface. So I water these for the first time until the water drips out of the bottom of the tray. That is my first watering. I really do give them a good soaking in. After that, every single day, I make sure that these trays are kept moist. I never let them dry out completely, but I don't water them as much as I do for the first time. From here on in, you just water them, give them a good watering, but don't overwater them because you don't want your seeds to rot. And you make sure that you keep them in a warm, sunny spot. I'm going to put these on my windowsill and wait for them to germinate. They should be germinating in 4 days' time, not very long, 4 to 7 days. And once they're about 4 centimeters tall, I'm going to plant them in the ground, and I'm going to be so excited to get my Savoy cabbages and my delicious peas in the middle of winter.
After the break, Michael Rickhoff is back with his formal and informal garden designs, showing how colour selections will influence his plant selections.